There we go. And I am Katie Galan. So I am the Director of Education and Community Engagement for BBB Serving the Heart of Texas. So we would love it if you guys can put in the chat what your business is and where you're logging in from, because this is going out to our entire Serving the Heart of Texas network, which services 105 counties. So you guys can be calling in from the Permian Basin way out in way West Texas, or down here in Corpus Christi where I am. So please put that information there. We just like to see where everybody's logging in from. But thank you guys for logging on. If you are a BBB accredited business, thank you so much. We love our BBB accredited businesses and our BBB family. If not, we're happy that you're here to gain some really insightful information. So these webinars, if this is your first time attending, this is something that we put on every single month. They're always no cost to you. We like to do them the last week of the month. They're typically the last Thursday, but to accommodate Mr. Martinez, we went ahead and did it today on Wednesday. But please, keep looking out for those. The one that we're going to be having in April is going to be on AI for your business. We all know AI is huge and blowing up more and more and more every day. There's always so much to learn. Terry Moten is our chief AI expert. And so she is going to be running us through some really great things that can help your business. And that's going to be next month, April 24th, I think is the date of the last Thursday of the month. So be on the lookout for that. It's already on the BBB website. So you can already go to bbb.org, go to events, and you can already register for that. So you definitely don't want to miss it. Really great information. But today we're going to be talking about Leadership 101. And so if you are running a business, if you are a business owner, this is going to be really invaluable information. And our expert today is Carlos Martinez. He is the VP of N. Martinez and Associates. He is a senior project manager for design projects, construction management, and professional training. And just a little bit of background on Mr. Martinez here. He has almost 30 years of experience in being responsible for numerous multi-million-dollar development projects. He shares his knowledge and experience of leadership training and coaching by providing customized training programs. So we're really happy to have Mr. Martinez here to share his expertise and really help guide you to be a better leader for your business. So with all of that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Martinez. If y'all have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and we will get to those at the end of the presentation. So Carlos, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, let's see. Well, Katie, thank you for that presentation or that introduction. You kind of finished off my first my first bullet point. You kind of took my thunder there, but that's okay. Thank you. My name is Carlos Martinez. I'm with N. Martinez and Associates, and as Katie mentioned, I do have experience in consulting. I also have experience in real estate. I'm also do law enforcement. So I deal with leadership with people of all ages. And I laugh, and the reason why I'm laughing is because nothing bothers me more when I go to a class and I see somebody with glasses that have high glare, so I'm actually going to be looking at my screen in this direction. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just this. I don't want to give you guys the glare of that, of my glasses here. But I just wanted to let you know that when I'm not doing trainings and so forth, I participate in the sport of triathlon. And that's basically kind of leadership as well, because that's all about having to train and prioritize and negotiate and all that other good stuff. So I want to start off with letting you know about what I intend to do today. Is the reason why we have the chat open is because I want to make this as interactive as possible. I'm going to ask some questions. I want you to go ahead and answer them in the chat. I want to get your feedback, and the whole idea is that we have a short conversation about leadership. But let's first talk about the importance of, and I'm working with two screens here, so just bear with me here. The importance of training. So the question I ask for all of you on the call here is, what is the importance in your mind of training? Why do we train our employees? Why do we train our staff? Why do we train the people around us? Why do you think we do that? And while you think about that, I'm going to share with you a story of my own in which one day I was at work and I was just completely overwhelmed with everything. I had deadlines, I had um, people calling, the phone wouldn't stop, the emails wouldn't stop, the deadlines wouldn't stop. And I told myself that there has to be a better way to do this. And so I started to do research about time management. So I started researching time management and I started practicing it. And I recognized that there was an improvement in my performance. Then I started to practice and research on delegation to where I can delegate people who work with me. And I started practicing that and I saw more improvement. Then I started to research and practice leadership. And that's when I got promoted at work. And when I got promoted at work, that was just the best thing. And my company owner noticed that they saw an improvement in my performance. They saw an improvement in my billings. They saw an improvement in my efficiency. They saw an improvement in profits. So it was actually a good thing to learn and be trained on leadership, is where I saw the best benefit in my line of work. To improve skills and knowledge, that is correct. That's exactly why we want to train the people around us. Did you know that less than 10% of companies actually invest in training for their employees? That was one thing that I learned, that when I took this on as a full-time job to learn about leadership, train leadership, experience leadership, and share stories and so forth, that less than 10% of companies actually train their employees. But when you train your employees, you could actually set higher expectations for your staff. You can actually reduce risk for your staff. You could actually increase safety for your staff. And the number one thing that when I give trainings, it seems to improve morale, because the employees see that they're being trained in something, and that the company actually looks to them to learn something. So let's talk about leadership. And I asked the group, what's the difference between a leader and a manager? And I'll give you a few minutes or a few seconds to think about that. What's the difference between a leader and a manager? Well, what we can talk about is that a manager is basically a person who's responsible for controlling and administering parts of a project, parts of a company, parts of a team. And the leader does that same work, but they get people collaborating. And the number one thing is they inspire people to work through coaching and guidance. They inspire them to do their own means and methods, so you're not having to micromanage. So being a leader is to inspire and coach those around you and give them the guidance that they need to get results. So we want our people to get results. So we want to be there, not necessarily controlling how they do it, but in influencing them and inspiring them to do it themselves. So let's go ahead and click over here. So what are those learnable skills? So is a leader born or is a leader trained? Well, it depends who you ask. And what we see in the line of work is that leadership is a trainable skill. People say, well, I was born a leader. That may be true, but you probably were around other leaders when you were growing up, which was somebody who might have been a business owner, or somebody who have maybe been a leader in their line of work and taught you those skill sets. So being a leader is trained, and you have to have the mindset to be a leader. You have to be able to be thinking about success all of the time. So in order to learn to be a leader, the first thing is you have to have the mindset. You have to set yourself, I want to be a leader. I want to be successful. I want to go ahead and focus. So what we need to do as leaders is we got to start thinking ahead of everybody else. We have to have more confidence in ourselves to lead those people. I'm going down and I'm reading the text here. Yes, yes, yes. So when we learn these skill sets, we want to have the mindset of a leader. So the leader's mindset is several things. We want to make sure people collaborate. We want to make sure people have the tools that they need, and so forth and so forth. So let's go down here to the meat, the personal improvement, the heavy, heavy things of what it takes to be a leader. This is where Leadership 101 starts. So I'm going to go ahead and start. The basis of leadership, of being a good leader, you have to know how to manage your time and manage the time of the people around you. Time is a gift. We will never get it back. If we want to lead effectively, we have to manage our time. And we have to do that by setting goals. So the top level of being a leader is managing your time and setting goals. And what do you do by doing that? You separate the urgent from the important. And how do we know what's the difference between doing something first that's urgent or doing something that's important? How do we know what the difference is? Well, nobody can answer that for us. Only we know what's the difference between urgent and important. So as you manage your time as a leader, urgent is something that needs to be taken care of immediately, but doesn't go towards your goal. Important is something that's not necessarily urgent, but if you do that task, works towards your goal of managing your time. So leaders know how to manage their time. And that in itself, time management is a whole other floor class in itself. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the Q&A portion of that. Another item of an effective leader is someone who can effectively communicate, someone who knows how to listen, somebody who knows how to speak, and someone who lets other people speak and knows how to communicate with everybody around them. So not only are we managing our time, but a good leader is an effective communicator. They can change people's minds by the way that they talk to them. They can influence other people by listening and giving them some feedback. Because when you're a good, effective communicator, that also means that you know how to resolve conflict. Resolving conflict is another skill set of a leader, knowing how to handle a problem, because you have to have courage to be a leader. Because if people put the trust in you to lead, you have to have the courage to resolve conflict and have tough decisions to make, tough communication conversations to have, and being able to speak to groups, be able to speak to teams, be able to speak to an owner. So not only are we managing our time, not only are we communicating very well, but we got to be able to resolve conflict as well. The effective communication also goes into being, as a leader, we need to be effective negotiators. And when we negotiate, we're always negotiating with the work that we do. We're negotiating with our customers. We're negotiating with our employees. We're negotiating with our family. We're negotiating with everybody around us. So time management, effective communication, negotiation. And another thing that we got to do to be good leaders is we always have to be thinking beyond what everybody else is thinking. We have to be thinking big. And when we think big is that we're thinking about not just next week, but the following week, which means we have to prioritize. We have to prioritize not just our time, prioritize our work, and give feedback to team members on how to select something that we talked about earlier that's urgent versus important. As leaders, we also have to be good coaches. to the people around us, when we coach the people around us, is that they start to trust us. A coaching program, as being a leader, is doing one-on-ones, giving feedback, having coachable moments, not necessarily giving people reprimands every time, but giving them an opportunity to excel. Because as a leader, we want to help our team grow. A happy employee is a happy employer. A happy employer is a successful employer, and a successful employer is back around to successful employees as well. So when we learn about all these valuable skills, what does that come down to? It comes down to self-confidence. It's basically us being able to confidently lead these people through managing our time. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute, because I really want this leadership really is more of a kind of a Q&A conversation on how we dive deeper in time management, how we dive deeper into effective communication, how we dive deeper into negotiation, and all those other items. So the biggest item that leaders do as well is they hold their staff accountable. That is one thing that is the hardest part about being a leader, is holding their team accountable and having to make adjustments as such. That's the hardest part about being a leader, is accountability is a two-way street. So if we want our people to perform a certain way, we as leaders have to also perform that same way so we can be good influencers to the people around us. And accountability is usually the biggest question I always get. How do I fix a non-accountable employee? Well, there are many ways to do that depending on your situation, and we can talk about that as well. So the reason why leadership is really just a 101 is because it really comes down to you. It comes down to you and your mindset of saying, I want to influence the people around me. I want to manage much better. I want to be a better communicator, and we can definitely help you with that. So on the screen here, you'll see the quote that I have from Captain James Lovell. Does anybody know who he is? Captain Lovell was an astronaut. He is most famous for being the astronaut that had been to the moon twice without ever touching it. He was in Apollo 8, which was basically orbiting the moon to find landing spots for the future Apollo missions. And then he was famous in Apollo 13 when they were on the way to the moon. They had some trouble, never landed, and actually made it back. And let me tell you why I like this quote from Captain Lovell. This is leadership in one sentence, really, or in one statement here, is I'm fascinated with the moon program because we were doing things that we had never done before. And when everything goes right, it's already hard. When things went wrong, it was even harder. But this leader, Captain Lovell, was when he was in the module, he took charge. He delegated tasks. He was communicating with Earth, and they got things done. They got results. There are people who make things happen. There are people who watch things happen, and there are people who wonder what happened. To be successful, you need to be a person who makes things happen. And that's what leaders do. Leaders are the ones who are there for their team. They manage time, they manage people, or they manage their time with other people. They communicate, they negotiate, they think big, and they resolve problems, and they have the courage to do that. And so with that said, I know we went through that very fast, but what I want to do now is I want to answer your questions, because this is a topic that people get very excited about. And some people out there have one little thing that they like to say, I'm having trouble doing this, and I have trouble doing that, and I want to answer your question when it comes, because we can all learn from that situation. And so I can answer all those questions for you. But before we do that, I want to let you know that our office, we're based here in Corpus Christi. We give leadership training as an academy. Of course, we're only talking for a few minutes today, but it is a big, long conversation. And but in this time, I'll be more than happy to help you however I can. So who would like to go first?
So I'm actually unmuting everyone. So if you guys want to speak, you may. If you feel more comfortable putting in the chat, then you can do that too. So I'm almost done here. All
Well,
right, I think
Katie, can you help me by kind of selecting who's going to go next? Because there's a lot of people here, and I don't have them all on my screen at the same time.
yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm just unmuting them
Okay,
right now
I
or
see
giving them permission to.
Okay, I think Brad Strickland raised his hand first.
Brad, did you have a question?
No, I was actually just letting him know I could hear him okay. So
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
no,
Perfect.
good points. This is actually my first meeting with you guys. I just joined the BBB
Oh,
last week,
perfect.
so just trying to jump in and learn as much as I
Yeah.
can. Business is less than a year old, so I'm just like a sponge right now, sucking it all in. So
well,
appreciate it.
Brad,
What is your business, Brad? If you don't mind.
Patchmaster. It's a franchise drywall repair. Um,
Perfect.
and we're in Waco and Temple. So we are your drywall repair specialists. So anybody knock a hole in the wall, give me a call. We'll make it. So
thank you,
Thanks,
Brad.
Brad.
you're welcome. Thank y'all.
All right. Do we have any, does anybody here, let me mute Brad back. Anyone have any questions? We want to make sure that we're taking full advantage of Carlos while we have him here. I know those were some really great points that you made there. Let me see.
And I know we went through those pretty quick, but the thing is that usually a conversation from somebody that wants to touch on something based on their question, we can definitely go deeper. We can definitely do that.
Mhm.
We got a shy group today.
I know. Don't be shy, guys. We got a lot. We got plenty of time here to go through this with y'all.
My name is Lily, and I'm actually researching because we would like to start implementing some leadership training internally in our company.
What line of work do you do?
We are a decorative concrete supply manufacturer. So we sell the materials to do decorative concrete, and we are also, our umbrella, we own 6 contractors across the US that do the actual installs.
Okay. You know, just to kind of give you an idea of the kind of work that our clients that we've had nurses, we've had general contractors, we've had HVAC contractors, we've had aircraft mechanics, we've had city departments, we've had credit unions, we've had a lot of people, and our experience in the construction field helps us help people with leadership training because we understand the process of construction, the process of bidding, awarding, mobilizing, project closeout, and so forth. So you have my information here on the screen. If you have any detailed questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you, Lily.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you for the question.
I don't see any other questions at the moment, but
I
y'all,
do have a question.
yes.
Hi, Tina with Youth Odyssey.
Hi,
You were
Tina.
talking about delegation, Carlos, and I've come into understanding, and I've tried to do a lot of leadership type things like this. And so in regards to delegation, how do you address the team members that you are looking to delegate to create a feeling or understanding of collaboration versus control? And then
So
following up to that is
Gr-
how do you structure the follow-up so that you're not micromanaging, but you are getting the results in time?
Great question. So the number one, that's a great question. The number one top part about delegation is do not set up the person you select to do the task that you're doing for failure. You're gonna match the task that you're delegating with the person's skill set. So if I'm gonna delegate a task of, let's say, painting a wall, I wouldn't give that to an electrician, because he's going to fail in that one and he's not going to be able to get you the results that you need. So the first thing that you do when you delegate a task is you try to answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how with that person, and you make sure that person understands what it is the scope of work that you're giving them. So if, let's say, you're going to give a task to lead, let's say, a summer camp, well, likely you would give that task to someone who's had experience in, let's just say, running a summer camp. If they don't have that skill set of doing that, but maybe they know how to do dodgeball very well, well, then you give them the dodgeball task, and you might have to do some of it yourself, because delegating is to multiply your time, but at the same time, you don't have time to lose. So when it comes to delegating, the first thing is make sure that when you give somebody a task, that they are skilled to do that task. Now, how do you prevent micromanaging? Well, when you have that first conversation with that person, set those milestones. If you're gonna set something out, create 4 or 5 milestones and say, when you're done with this task, let's talk again. When you're done with this task, let's talk again. And you're not talking to that individual until they reach that milestone. Because remember, as I've always told my groups, if I'm doing the job by micromanaging, I don't need you, because it sounds like now I'm doing the job. So when you give them a task, do not set them up for failure. Let them give you small bites at a time. And after the first or second milestone, they start to show that they're making progress. Always remember to keep the encouragement up is to motivate them with a good job. Hey, I didn't think about that. Good work. You want to give them positive affirmation about what they're doing, because delegating is tough. I will tell you, my answer for what's your biggest weakness, I have trouble delegating because I want it done a certain way. I've been lucky enough to, when I go to, I fix that with myself, is that I do smaller tasks, because it allows us to have a conversation rather than I need you to finish this full task. It's I need you to finish this full task, but we're going to talk after this, and then we're going to talk after this, then we're going to talk after this. And when we get there, we can still get what we want without micromanaging. So yes, you're absolutely right. We don't want to micromanage. We want to give them the authority to come up with those means and methods themselves, because that improves their self-confidence, and that improves your trust in them. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Tina. That was a really good question. Rachel has a question too here in the chat. Thank you, Rachel. How do you work with individuals on accountability? And you were mentioning that earlier, and I think this is also a really good question.
So accountability is the basis of what gets rewarded gets repeated. So good behavior that's rewarded gets repeated. Bad behavior that gets rewarded with kind of looking the other way also gets repeated. So what we have to do when we start making people accountable, the first thing we have to do is that we have to make that person aware, because sometimes it's a disconnection of communication. So in order to keep somebody accountable, you have to start a new process. And the new process is that you have to tell this individual, I need you to perform this specific task. So you give them exactly what you need them to do. You tell that individual, this is what finished looks like. We're going to talk again when this becomes this. You need to let them know what the consequence is of not doing it. Whether the consequence is we're going to miss the deadline, we're going to lose that client. If we don't get this right, we're going to miss this deadline. The airplane's going to leave without us. They have to know what the consequence of not doing it is. If they do it correctly, then you reward the individual and say, good job, thank you. But you basically have to reward your employees. You know, it's as simple as good job, in as much as like, hey, take the rest of the day off. It can be, you know, here's a $10 Amazon gift card, or it could even, here's a brand new pickup truck. It could be any of those. But you're letting them know that you're rewarding for good behavior or good processes. Let's take it to the other side. Let's say that they're not doing what you're asking them to do. You have to let them know what the consequence of not doing it is. And that consequence is, well, you're gonna get written up, or you're gonna get some days off, or you're going to you know, be let go, whatever that may be. But here's the easiest way to remember it. And I actually come up with this. It's called the 4 R's. The first thing is you give them a task. If they hit the bullseye, then you reward them. If they miss the bullseye, what you want to do is you want to recommend and repeat. In other words, give them a chance, give your employee a chance to get to the reward side of it. If they're just really not getting it, sometimes you might not have the right person on the task. Again, you might have that electrician that you're asking to paint. You don't want to set them up for failure, because now you have to relocate this person. Sometimes before you get rid of someone, you want to relocate them. Give them a different task. But after you've done that, after you've rewarded, or after you've recommended and repeated, and after you've relocated and they're just still not getting it, you have to be ready to release. And a good leader has to understand, when we talked about the communication, is you have to be able to get rid of waste. And sometimes unaccountable employees are just creating waste. So we have to be very careful with that. So when it comes to accountability, make sure that it's a two-way street. And the reason for that is because a leader who's accountable will have employees and people that influence people by their accountability as well. I definitely don't want to say to people, and I'll give an example for my office, is I want everybody here till 5. Okay, well, if I'm leaving at 3:30, how do I expect my people to stay till 5? And usually if I stay till 5:36, guess what they're doing? They're staying till 5:30 or 6 as well, because they're being very efficient. And at the same time, they want to be recognized for that. So accountability is very heavy, but you have to reward for the good behavior, and you have to release for the bad behavior. Once you get that under control, you'll see an improvement on accountability office-wide. And I've had this conversation with those groups that I talked to you about, and they were clutching the pearls at first, like, I can't do that. I've gotten callbacks and said they've slept better, the last 2 weeks than they ever have before, because they were able to get people to be held more accountable. Great question.
Thank you, Rachel, for that. That was a great question. I think sometimes people you can be a great leader and sometimes maybe struggle with confrontation a little bit. So that was
and that's a very good point, because that's where effective communication comes in. You have to have the courage to have those tough conversations, because that's the influencing side. You have to influence people to do work and influence people to improve, and you have to influence people even on their way out the door. That's the tough one.
Perfect. Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
I see a hand up. Yes.
Oh, let's see. Who's that? Who had the hand?
I see a hand up, and then I also see a follow-up question in the chat. Thoughts on leaders who don't fully understand responsibilities of their team? If they don't understand the responsibility of the team, they're not a leader. Simply put, because the leader in the team is taking full responsibility. They have the title and the role as a leader because people trust them to get results. If they don't understand the responsibilities of the team, then they may have to be given some training themselves to better understand the responsibility of that team. Some people might not know what they're able to do. And I will tell you this is also another point. I work with a lot of middle managers. I work with, like, when you look at the hierarchy, I deal mostly, it's usually the people at the top that order the training for the people in the middle. And the people in the middle say, well, I can't do that. My boss won't let me do that. It's like, well, have you asked them to do that? I'm like, no, but he would never go for it. Well, how can you sit here and tell me that he'll say no if you haven't asked? That's where the communication and the courage kicks in as a leader. I would like to do this with my team. I would like your support for this. Here are the advantages of doing this. Here are the disadvantages. I need your permission to do it. And that's what it is. Middle managers have the toughest job in the world because they have people below them and they have people above them, and they're stuck in the middle. As long as a leader knows that they have the full support of the staff above them, nothing can stop them. They would be efficiency 1.5. Be awesome. And then there was
And yeah, it was Nereida who had her hand raised. You can talk if you want to, Nereida, now.
Hi, my name's Nadeva.
Hi.
hi.
So I have a salesperson here, and I want to motivate them, lead them to become a better salesperson. But whenever we have meetings, whenever we have even when with the other like sales reps, they bring like the mood down, or like the ambiance down. So like if all of us are very like talking and like being like prepping for like, for like the day and stuff, they like their whole, like they bring the mood down. So I've talked to them about like, hey, is there anything like at home, like do you need like some time off and things like that? But I don't know like what I can do to like help them, because it's not every day. It's like every other day. But I also don't, they're sales representative, they can't so I want to be a good leader and like help them out with what I can, but I don't know what I can do other than like speaking with them.
Great question. So in fact, one of my clients had that very same problem. The problem that they had was they have a morale issue is what they have. They have people that come in and they just bring the mood down of the entire room. They just become very negative and, oh, that'll never happen. And they just basically bring the negative energy. And what it came down to be was that their self-confidence in their line of work, they felt threatened by some other people in the room. So there was not a feeling of teamwork. There was not a feeling of leadership. There was basically, this person was lost of where they fit in the organization. So we started a coaching program. So what we did is that we had where somebody who had problems or issues, that they had somebody who was equal to them, not above, not below, but equal to them there was basically a mentor and protege program. Every time this person had a problem, they had someone to speak to in confidence. And what happened is they allowed the protege and the mentee and the mentor together to come up with a solution for this problem. And then that solution can then be brought to a room. And then how do we fix it? Because a lot of times the negative energy is coming from, they're not happy with that. And they, if they're miserable, they want everybody else to be miserable with them. And basically in sales, I see this a lot because they're frustrated. They're frustrated that somebody else can sell the same product, 10 times over in a single week when they're struggling to sell it in a month or whatever it may be. So you might want to consider a coaching program and a mentor protege program in which they can have someone to talk to. Now, what happens is there's this difference between an employee and a supervisor. They usually get uncomfortable because they don't want to feel judged. They don't want to feel like, well, if I tell you, you're going to know and you're going to get rid of me or whatever that may be. But if it's an equal person, they're probably more likely to share. And the thing is as you as a leader is to find out what the problem is, and then you go ahead and try to come up with a solution to that problem. And do you happen, and I'm asking out loud here, and you can share if you like, but do you happen to have an idea of this problem? Could it be fixed with you finding out what it is and coming up with a solution?
I think it's mostly like that they have like problems at home and they don't know how to navigate those problems or leave those problems whenever they come to work. And I think because usually like in the morning, that's whenever they're mostly down, and then like throughout the day, whenever they get more happier or like less to themselves, they like join the team, that they go do their sales, but then whenever, you know, if they go home and it's fine, like they have a good home life that night, they, you know, they come the next day like all like ready to work. But if something happens the next day, that's when they bring it like into work. And because we usually have meetings in the mornings with all our sales representatives, just to make sure we're all on the same page on everything that's going on. And so usually that's when we know if something's going on with them.
Right. So as a good leader, you want to try to provide as much help as possible, but again, you don't have the answers to everything. And you know, when we work 8 hours a day, we're with our family the other 16, even when we're sleeping, right? So they have more time at home than they do have, let's say, with you. And so you're losing 2 to 1 on time, right? So you're not going to fix in 8 hours what's happened in the previous 16. But you can try to provide as much support as you can. But let's go ahead and not forget the accountability. Let's not forget the goals. Let's not forget the job that we have at hand. We have a job to do. We have work to do, and we still have metrics to meet. We still have goals to meet. We still have those things. And we need, person A, we need your help in still meeting these goals. And that's what we expect. What can we do to help you get there? And we actually go in great detail about this, because this whole, behavior is contagious. And if that behavior comes in with a negative energy, that starts to spread very quickly. And we as leaders need to necessarily limit that, whether it comes from the home or it comes from the Dallas Cowboys lost, or the Astros were eliminated. Whatever the energy is, it needs to be. As a leader, we still need to keep control of the goals that we have at hand for work. We still need to keep those priorities.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Nereida, for that question. That was really good. And I think that's a really good point, Carlos. Sometimes you want to help your employees, and you know that there are issues that are going on outside of the office, but at the end of the day, you have to really, there is a job that needs to be done. And so you can offer that support, but also make it known that, we are supporting you and we want you to be successful outside, but, you have to also do this job here too.
And there's a lot of things in the class that we go over that we're not going over today, but one of the things is called no excuses. Your client does not care that
Right.
your cat ran away. Your client does not care that you dropped their wedding cake on the floor the night before. They hired you to do something, and they need you to perform and get those results. So as employers, we have responsibilities to our clients, and the employees are there to help us get those responsibilities delivered. So at the end of the day, yes, we have our goal is to serve our clients, is what we're trying to do. And yes, my cat ran away and I'm distracted, but I still have to go give that presentation today at 1 o'clock, and I better be ready. So
Yeah, definitely. And, and both of those things are absolutely true, because, obviously offering support and letting them know that you're are able to offer that also goes a long way. And Rachel has a comment here. Maybe sharing resources for their own mental health care, especially EAP, if you offer. That's really, really great tip, especially if they're open to share there are family problems or other outside concerns.
I'm lucky enough to be married to a psychologist. She's the one that actually helps me write these programs, and so we do these together. You know, what we do and what we've done with people who need healthcare is we can give them the resources, we can give them the phone numbers, we can give them the pamphlets, we can give them all that information. But when it comes to, you know, on the side of, you know, medical care and privacy, we want to be respectful of their privacy when it comes to any kind of care that they need. So yes, we can tell them to visit a professional, but we want to just slightly limit. And I know it's all in good faith. We just want to be careful with telling them what to do on the health side.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think just, you know, even offering, like Rachel's saying, even just offering that there are resources is kind of letting your employee know that you do care about their well-being, and that goes
there's a lot of free resources, believe it or not. There's a lot of free ones, which are really good, Sometimes these people just need someone to talk to.
Right. Thank you, Rachel, for that suggestion. That was really good too.
Excellent. Excellent.
Do we have any other questions or comments? We got a few more minutes. I want to take advantage of Carlos while we have him.
So how about I ask a question to the group here? What is the toughest task you have as a leader? Does anybody want to share the toughest task as a leader? Is it courage? Is it getting rid of inefficiency? Is it scared to say the wrong thing? Does anybody want to share what the toughest part of being a leader is in their experience?
Delegate.
That is tough because what happens is that we know that our client needs a deliverable and we want to make sure it's correct.
Yeah, Nereda too, delegating.
Delegating just takes practice. It just takes courage and practice.
I like that you say courage. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that is what it is, but I don't think we think of it that way.
So it is, because you have to have no fear in the face of having to get something done. And we talk about courage as well. And we actually spend an entire section on that, because some people will avoid things because they're just too scared to say something. But trust me, after a lot of practice, it'll come second nature. It'll come second nature to that.
Lily says making time to develop others.
That's right. That's right. Because we have very limited time on that. Yeah. Yep. Leadership is not cookie cutter. That's right. There's different types of leadership, actually. Absolutely. Having tough conversations.
Yeah. Having those tough conversations with an employee on their negative behavior, that is definitely
and having those tough conversations, sometimes it's a matter of listening. Tough conversations, again, people think the conversation has to be the leader coming out of the gate having a conversation. Sometimes listening, when you ask them a simple question of, you know, how, you know, I've been noticing your performance over the last couple of weeks. Tell me what's going on. They can probably talk for an hour after that. But the thing is that when you have these negative behaviors, sometimes they will tell you, and I one of my clients here, oh my goodness, it was a toxic workplace. And it was basically everybody had the negative behavior. And they all came back to say, well, we all don't like the leader, which was the one that hired me, right? But we took that as, well, what is it that this person does that you don't like? And like, well, we have ideas and that person doesn't want to listen to them. And guess what I did? I actually had the conversation with the boss and said, you know, what are y'all doing? What are you doing to go from this old technology to this new technology? And I found out it was just the cost of the technology. It had nothing to do with not wanting to do it. It was just the cost. So the next time we got together is we found ways how we can prepare for the new technology switchover. They switched over already. So it was just a matter of communicating that. They were just too scared to talk about it. They just needed someone to go in there and talk with them. So sometimes
Yeah.
negative behavior is just nothing more than finding out what they're upset about. And it could probably be
Yeah.
improved.
And I think too, kind of maybe putting yourself in that position when you were maybe at a different level, and kind of putting yourself in that employee's shoes and thinking what would I have wanted at this moment. And you're right, sometimes just a question can help them, because you don't want to always feel, as that employee probably don't always want to feel like you're just being spoken to. You want to have a voice in there too.
The section that we have about that it's basically emotional intelligence, and we talk about empathy and how when you talk to people, you definitely need to talk with empathy, really is what it is. So great point.
Yeah, having your, allowing your employee, or, having your employees feel like they're being heard, I know goes a huge way in their performance and how they want to contribute to the company or to a supervisor that has that openness with them.
Right.
Do we have any other questions or comments?
Concerns.
Concerns. We have a couple more minutes here. So I want to make sure we get those in if anyone has any. And we do have, you see Carlos's contact information there. Be sure and jot that down. And just a reminder, this is being recorded. So this will be sent out to you probably in the next day or two, before the end of the week. It should be in your inbox before the end of the week. So you can absolutely go back and reference all these great points that we had here. Great training. I need more of this, Vanessa. Thank you. Feel free to reach out to Carlos, and of course, reach out to us at BBB. We can always help you with anything that you need to, and get you in touch with Carlos. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank
And
you,
y'all
Rachel.
don't forget about the one we have next month on AI for your business. You're not going to want to miss that one either. Thank you, Nadeva. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
Nice to have someone in Corpus Christi. Vanessa, you're in Corpus too. Reach out to me.
Woo!
I'm your director here in Corpus Christi. So reach out to me. It's K Galan. Kate, let me put it in the thing here in the chat. That way, if you need anything with BBB, you can get a hold of me. I am your director here.
And Jeanette, thank you.
Thank you, Anjanette.
Hey, looks like we're adding value.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, I think that's gonna do it. I think it doesn't look like we have any more questions, but thank you so much, Carlos, for doing this for us. Taking time out of your day. You're in San Antonio and doing a whole other thing, and you took your time to do this for us. So we really appreciate it. I know our accredited businesses and other businesses across the state appreciate this information. So thank you again for doing this for us.
Appreciate the opportunity. Just let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for logging on and taking time out of your day as well to really enrich yourselves to better your business. And reach out to Carlos if you need any more information. Reach out to us at BBB. We are happy to help you. That's what I'm here for. I'm a resource to connect you with people like Carlos who can really help your business. So that's all I've got. I'll see y'all guys. Hope y'all have a great rest of the week. And if you're in the rain area, stay safe.
We need that rain in the lake is what we need.
Oh, for sure. Yes. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.